YouTube, what's up? It's your boy Antha Barber coming back at you with another haircut tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be doing a low shadow fade with the number 8 on top. I like to begin each cut by brushing or combing out my client's hair and getting everything to lay in its natural direction. So now that I got everything laying down properly, I'm going to come in with my WAHL number 8 guard with the lever closed, and I'm going to begin to knock down all this hair on top. And I'm going to make sure that I cut everything clean and evenly because this is going to be my client's desired length. Alright, so now that I knocked the top down to the desired length, I'm going to come in with my WAHL half guard with the lever fully open, and I'm going to begin to set and create my first guideline. This is going to be a low shadow fade, so I am going to keep the lever open and I'm going to knock everything down evenly and set my guide in. So now that guide set, I'm going to come in with my WAHL number 1 color guard with the lever fully open, and I'm going to begin to set and create my next guideline. I'm going to give myself the same amount of space that I gave myself with the previous guide. That way I keep everything consistent with this blend. Now that guide was created, I'm now going to come in with my WAHL 1.5 guard with the lever fully open, and I'm going to begin to set and create my next guideline. And you could see when I get towards the top, I am starting to flick out. That's because I'm not trying to set in any harsh guideline that's going to be hard to remove, because I am going to want to keep some of that density that we see up there on top. However, once I set it in with the lever fully open, you're going to see that I'll close my lever and I'll begin to blend from the bottom of that guide right back up towards the top of that guide, and I'll go right to underneath where I just left off with that lever fully open. So now that I have that guide blended out, I'm going to come back in with my WAHL number 2 guard with the lever open, And this time I'm gonna really stress the flick out motion. You could see that I'm doing it now. And all I'm looking to do really is knock down some of that weight. And then I'm gonna remove a little bit of that darkness so I could get this blend to pop as good as I can. And once I set this, it's not necessarily setting in a guide, but I am cleaning up in a guide-like formation, just like I did with the previous guides. So once I clean it up with the lever fully open, just like the previous guides, I'll then close that lever and begin to blend right underneath where I just was. And I'm gonna go right up to where I just left off with that lever fully open. So now I'm going to begin to connect the back to the side that I just cut, and then I'll cut the other side and then connect the back as well. And when I connect the back like this, I found it a lot easier if I use that fade down process. So what you're going to see me do is come in with the highest guard you see me use, which was that WAHL 2 with the lever open. And I'm just going to begin to clean up, and then I'm going to use that fade down process, working my way down, closing that lever as needed. Once I clean up with that 2, you'll see like I just did, I drop down to that 1.5. I'll come in with that lever open, clean up, then I'll close that lever, and I'll continue to do that with every guard, with every guard that I use to create that blend. Alright, so now that I went through my fade work, I'm going to go ahead and sneak in this really low skin taper right now, because I feel like it's going to complement this haircut. And the reason why I feel like it's going to complement it is because this is a really basic, simple haircut. And he doesn't get a lineup. And so it's really hard to make something pop when the gradiency isn't that low. So I felt like if I gave him a really clean low skin taper, he'd be okay with it. I'd be able to give him a nice sharp lineup back there and a clean little blend that I feel like is going to change this basic haircut into something a little eye-catchy. So what you saw me do was I came in with my WAHL Cordless Detailer LI, and I began to set and create my first guideline, which was my bald guideline. Once I created my bald guideline, I'm now coming in with my Babyliss Foil FX02, and I'm completely balding out that guide. Now that it's balded out, I'm going to come in with my WAHL Magic Clip with the lever fully open, and I'm going to begin to set and create a guideline. Once this guideline's created, you're going to see that I immediately close my lever and I begin to blend from the bottom of that guide right back up towards the top of that guide. And little by little as I work my way up, I'm going to slightly open my lever. And every time I do that, you're going to notice that that guide's moving up with me. But that's okay, because that's exactly what I'm looking for. By the time I get to the top of this guide and my lever's fully open, it'll be completely blended out. Now that that's blended out, I'm going to come in with my WAHL #1 guard with the lever open. And I'm not necessarily looking to set in any guide. I'm kind of just using that flick out motion so I could blend in into that link that you see on top. but I am cleaning it up in a guide-like formation so that this taper can look clean. So once I clean it up with the lever fully open, then you'll see that I'll close my lever and I'll begin to blend from the bottom of that guide right back up towards the top where I just left off with that lever fully open. And typically the one closed tends to leave weight behind, so I'll show you how to remove that in the next step. Alright, so just like I mentioned, right where I'm showing you that one closed left some weight behind, so I'm going to show you how to remove it. I like to come in with my WAHL half guard with the lever fully open, and I like to attack right above the weight that I see. Again, that's right above the weight that I see, and I'll use that fade down process to eliminate it, meaning I'm going to close my lever as needed, working my way down until that guide's completely blended out. And as I do that, you're going to see that taper start to really come together. Alright, so now that my taper's set in, I'm going to begin to line it up. And the reason why I like to line it up at this point is because right after I set his line in, I'm going to begin to do my detail work. And by me lining this up, it's going to allow any blemishes to stand out. Alright, so now that I set that line in, I am going to begin my detail work. And right where I just showed you, I noticed a lot of weight. But right above his ear, it's not very noticeable on camera, but he has like a lump right there. He doesn't necessarily have like a chubby head with rolls, but he definitely has a lump, so it tends to look like there's density and darkness there when it's really not. So I'm gonna have to knock that area down a little bit lower than the guard that I was using in that area. So when I do detail work on him, I like to use that fade down process. So I'm going to come in using every guard that I use for this haircut, and I'm going to fade down to cross check my work. Alright, so for some reason I didn't film myself saturating his hair with water, but I did saturate it so I could gain a little bit more control over it, so I could do this clipper over comb, because he came in with really bad bedhead. So right here I'm using clipper over comb to go ahead and knock down any weight that I see. That way I could connect this blend into that length on top. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm knocking away all that weight, and I'm bringing that number 2 with the lever fully open into that number 8 closed. Alright, so after this step, I did blow dry my client's hair, and then I applied some big sexy powder play to style him out. I wasn't able to record it because he was short on time. He actually overslept, which is why he had the bedhead. But here's a look at the final cut. If you got anything useful out this, I ask that you smash that like button. If you're new to my channel, I suggest you stick around. It's only gonna get doper from here. If we could get this video to 1,000 likes in 1 week, in my next video I'll announce a giveaway. Be blessed and be a blessing. I'm out.